one or two of you. So welcome to session 4. I heard this is the first one in person, and it is moving into how you present yourself to your buyers or sellers and what is your value proposition. And so we're going to work on defining your value today, what that looks like, and we're going to get it in writing for everybody, which is a little bit more than when putting it down on paper is a little bit more than just saying it out loud. And a lot of you could probably tell me exactly what your value proposition was and why people should work with you. So we're going to take that, pull it in a little bit, and then by the end of it, we'll have all of that in writing, which you're going to be able to just talk about and share with buyers and sellers. Before we get started, does anybody have any comments about last week or anything that they learned? Like, what were your ahas from last week?
Crickets.
I had some big ahas about calling my sphere from Brenda Kay, which was awesome, which I hope to do this week, but I ended up with strep throat, so I'm gonna wait for that to get better first. But really, really good ahas on some, like, conquering some fears around those calls.
Amazing. That's amazing. That's huge. That's really huge. It's funny, isn't it? Like, we think people don't want to hear from us, or we don't know how to psych ourselves up for that. So Brenda would be amazing for encouraging you to challenge that. Anybody else?
Yeah, one of the things that, and I knew this from a while ago, but you know how this course kind of reignites your imagination too, or your what you recall from the past. But one of the stats, because Brenda Kay likes her stats, and I like them too, but it said 83% of buyers, sellers said that they would work with their agent again, but only 16% did because there was no more communication. That those people did not stay in touch.
Yes.
That to me, that, and I went, oh wow, and sometimes we're all guilty of not staying in touch because you're moving on to the next one, and you're moving on to the next one, and you're moving on to the next one.
Yes. Yeah.
So that stuck with me again.
Right. Those are such good reminders too, Holly.
Sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean. It was such a good reminder. And this is what this is to me, is a reminder of things that I knew.
Yeah.
And know, but you know how sometimes subconsciously things, just you don't use them every day, or you don't say them every day, or you don't do them every day, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I knew that worked for me once. I think I'll get it to work for me again, kind of thing.
Yeah, and let's be honest, through COVID, we didn't have to do that, and there wasn't time to do that.
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah, the last 3 years, 2.5, 3 years have just been a total different planet that we've lived on as far as real estate goes, in my opinion, anyway. Really, truly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of that, though, I think what I've already known, but it's nice just to hear it again. It's almost like a slap in the face, because you should be doing it. But smart plans, really utilizing smart plans for that, because there's a real estate agent that my very first real estate agent still sends my wife happy birthday, and she's just like, oh, this is great, I can't believe after all these years he remembers. And I go, it's a smart plan. Like, it's a smart plan. But they don't know that, and it's such a benefit really to keep you top of mind.
Yes. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, that that's a reminder for you because she's receiving it from somebody else. It hits that point home.
You think it would? I'm starting to.
When you automate things, it just all of a sudden things get simpler. But that's something that I have not personally done with all of my clients in my database, is to add all of their birthdays. So that's a good reminder for me, Dennis. So thank you.
What's great is command with the new stuff there, the birthday pieces, when you actually do create the smart plan, it's right there and it shows you, and you can set up so it can give you a heads up. It's great.
Well, and does everyone use it on their phone?
I do, yeah.
Because the birthdays are like right there in the very front page. When you use it on your,
Didn't know that.
yeah, so how many birthdays do you have? How many people should you be reaching out to? Which is, it's such a, when, I find when it's right in front of your face, it's really hard for us to ignore it.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah,
No,
like
yeah, it's good. It is good.
like I have six birthdays coming up.
Yeah. Anybody else? Were there any more ahas? Before we jump into this session? No? Okay. So I am going to go through, let's see if it'll work. The mouse on the screen, no. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is what we're going to do today. Okay, so we're working on value proposition, and what we're going to figure out what is the definition of a value proposition, try to personalize some of that. So taking what your strengths are, looking at what buyers and sellers want, and then trying to merge them into what your personal value proposition is, and whether you're an individual agent or you're on a team. This is something that's just going to happen naturally in your conversation. You're probably already having these, you just don't have it written down, right? You're probably already having the conversations. So what I'd like to do is, it says that we should take a few minutes to have a conversation about what are your questions. But maybe what we can do is we can just write down, if anybody has questions about this value proposition, like what are you hoping to get out of this session? Or do you just want to move forward with it and then ask questions as we go?
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. Let's do that then. And then we will kind of continue on with the session. So this one, to start your value proposition is defining it, and then what it is it's a unique and memorable and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you. Some of these conversations you're having with people, but it's not boiled down to a specific statement. So one statement. It addresses the specific and special needs of the buyers and the sellers in your market. And it states what you will do for your clients to earn your commission. And it also then pulls you back and holds you accountable to your buyers and sellers for what you say you're going to do. So this is, it holds you to a higher standard when you have the value proposition in writing. But it also, that part pulls into the why for C2Ts. I wanted to get it right. So this one is the commitment to all in all things, so that we're trying to do what we say we're going to do. We're following through with it. We're following up, and we're making sure that we're reaching that standard, and we're committing what we've said we're committing to with the buyers and the sellers, that we're actually doing it. So when we talk about that one, the last one, it being us being accountable to high standards, when we think about the Y4C2Ts, what are other ones that that you can think of other than the commitment one? That's one of the C's. Anybody?
You're losing me on the Y4 to
Yeah,
whatever
what
you
is
said.
Oh, Y4C2.
Quite sure.
Okay.
I would really 7
Oh.
acronyms.
Yeah, so it's one of the KW acronyms. Okay, so, oh, I wonder, is it in here? Let's just do a quick look. Okay, so on the back, just the page just before your contents page. It's our belief system. And the right-hand side of the page, halfway down. So win-win or no deal, integrity to do the right thing. Customers always come first, commitment in all things, communication, seek first understand, creativity, ideas before results. Teamwork, together everyone achieves more. Trust starts with honesty, equity, opportunities for all, and success results through people. So when you're looking at your value proposition, which of these are you wanting to pull in, or which of these do you see that your value proposition can be backed up by or can be linked to?
Two things that would stick out to me or jump out to me right now are integrity and commitment. I think they'd be important to both buyers and sellers.
That's true, yeah. Anyone else?
So what you're saying is use that to help create your value proposition.
Some of it helps to back it up. And it helps to hold you accountable, because these are some of the belief systems, or this is what the belief system is based on for Keller Williams. So it backs up what your belief system is as an agent of working for your buyers and your sellers. So it helps with validity to it, like communication, right? Communication is huge.
So do we have do we have an example of whether it's yours or somebody else's value proposition?
Yeah, we're gonna do that in a few minutes. And you know what's really interesting? I've been chatting about my value proposition for a while, and my coach actually said, well, put it in writing, And I'm like, oh, I don't put it in writing. So finally, I had to start putting it in writing. And then this ended up, I didn't think this session was about value proposition when I signed up for it. I thought, oh, I can talk about value. I can talk about the value that we provide to clients. That's not a problem. But then when it boiled right down, it was like, oh, this is actually about value proposition. So I'm trying to condense what my value proposition is in one statement. There's lots of things that I talk about, but that's what we're working on today, is working towards that and getting it as a statement so that you feel like, and there's going to be examples as well in a couple of slides of what some companies use as their value proposition, which will then be really helpful, because then we can look at those and talk about what they are. You know, how does that impact you as a consumer? Because that's our buyers and our sellers, our consumers and clients.
Can I ask a question, Janice?
Sure.
Well, I guess it's kind of a question. I was watching something on Skillshare on sales, and it was this guy was saying to work or create your perfect elevator pitch. And that's when it kind of all made sense. So is that kind of where what you're talking about? Do you have an elevator pitch that you throw out to people when they ask like what you do?
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. Yesterday at an open house, buyers came in and they were very guarded because they were expecting the sales pitch, right? And which most buyers do. And I find myself doing the very same thing when you walk into a car showroom, right? You expect this sales pitch, right? So I let them wander around the house for a few minutes, kind of welcome them, introduce myself, let them wander around, asked if they needed any assistance. And then once they had seen the home, and it wasn't bombarding them initially, but then had a really great conversation. But it was about, are you working with an agent? Do you have someone that's representing you? Well, no, we don't. Okay, I would love the opportunity to be able to speak with you about buying or selling in real estate, whether you're interested now or whether you're interested in a year. It's always great to start that conversation. And then they're like, oh, okay, maybe we can do that. And then it was the conversation of, I am not a high pressure sales person. It costs you nothing to meet with me, and we can just sit down and have a chat. And what is it that you're looking for? My value in helping you navigate this market is to be able to find the right home at the right price in the right time frame for you, whether that's now or whether it's down the road. And for me, that was the initial starting. And then they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll give you our information. Whereas before they weren't willing to. So it was.
That's good. That's really good. Yeah.
It was more of a soft approach, because you can, like, reading people's body language is so important in this. It's trying to figure out, you know, they came in and you could just tell they were really guarded with their facial expressions and the way they were walking. And they just wanted to keep moving through the house. They did not want to engage in conversation early on. So read your people, like read what the body language is when you're engaging, especially in those early few minutes. I find in those early few minutes, it'll make it or break it.
Very true.
And that's probably more personal experience too, coming through, is sometimes you start off strong and you're like, oh yeah, that did not go well. That was not how I wanted it to go. Or I'm on the receiving end of somebody trying to, even have a conversation about business or services that they offer. Does that answer your question, Flynn?
It does, yes.
Okay. Sorry, that was a bit of a long, that certainly was longer than an elevator.
Oh,
But it really is just kind of reading the people and then talking, and saying.
well, there's
this is-
probably different elevator pitches you can have for different situations as well. Like you wouldn't say the same thing at an open house as meeting someone at a coffee shop who is curious about the book you're reading on real estate, kind
Yes.
of thing.
Yeah, or here's another example. When we were coming back from Anaheim, we were in line in the airport in Montreal, and there was a guy who was in front of us, and we were just, chatting back and forth, and there was 4 of us from this brokerage together, and there was, he was coming to Halifax. It was, oh, why are you coming to Halifax? And he teaches a course for Dell once a month. So that was really, it just kind of opened up a door for conversation. And he's like, well, why were you guys traveling? So we said, well, we're at a conference for real estate. He said, oh, that's interesting. I said, oh yeah, do you have anything that you need bought or sold in Montreal? And I was kind of joking, trying to keep it just light. And he said, actually, I do. I said, oh, I could match you up with the perfect agent for you in Montreal. I said, would you mind sharing your contact info with me? So he did. So now I have a referral in Montreal, which is just, so there's a perfect example of like an elevator pitch. Like you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
That's
sometimes it just happens and you just are talking.
Or the other lesson is always travel with Janice. I mean, that's what I took. I don't know.
But then she gets the business and you don't, so I'm not
Well,
traveling.
that's all right. That's okay. I learned Jake.
Jody and the elbows off, you may have me pushed down the line.
Can I ask a quick question? It's kind of a simple one. What's your name?
My name?
Yeah,
Janice, I'm sorry. Sorry, Angela.
it's okay. I'm trying to put names to people because I'm so new and
Yeah.
who I want to tag along behind and get all their listings.
A good one.
That's awesome, Angela.
I'll tell you what my real struggle is I work full time and I'm really toying with not because I don't know. Anyways, that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah. Yeah, you were on a call with me last week. There was a few of us on. I'm trying to remember what it was for. There were a few calls. Anyway, nice to meet you, Angela. We'll meet in person one of these times. Yeah, so when you're looking at your value proposition and your belief and the KW belief system, try to overlay some of that. And that's not, you'll see as we move along this morning that that's not going to be a concern at all. You're going to be able to easily pull some of these through. with what your value proposition is. And then you can even discuss it in conversation. You can be dropping those little breadcrumbs along the way with your buyers or sellers. Okay, now. There we go. So this is a quote from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary Keller's book. Top agents can easily explain what services they will provide to anyone who hires them. So what did everyone do before real estate?
So I was in trades,
You were in trades.
automotive, so that's where my elevator pitch or whatever we're talking about today kind of stems from.
Yeah.
Because I come from that blue collar background, so like mine is like I want to bring blue collar work ethic into a white collar industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and that's a really good catchphrase too, Alex. Did everyone hear that?
Yeah, bringing say it again, blue collar something to white collar something.
Blue collar work ethic into a white collar industry.
Right, yeah, that is good, that is good.
It's
Yeah.
really good. What about anyone else? Do they want to share what they did before and maybe kind of how?
Well, I was in the leasing industry for years and years and years, like equipment leasing, worked for
Yeah.
Pitney Bowes for years, Pitney Bowes Leasing, and always, and it was quite frankly a boring job. Finance, I wasn't too keen on, actually. As I moved up the ladder, the more boring that job got. But anyway, and then I staged for quite a few years, home staging. And in that part of things, I always, of course, I was always part of real estate because we used to stage for real estate agents. And I always knew it was something I wanted to do. But my son was young and I knew it was not a 9-to-5 job. And then when he became old enough, I jumped in. So I already knew what agents were all about, I guess you could say. So, yeah,
So
a
you
lot
knew how
of context.
Right, you knew how you could do it differently.
Exactly.
What I hear you saying.
That's what I didn't want to say out loud, but thank you, Janice.
How you can add more value, right? Because when we're watching, you see the holes, right? And you see a need, so you're
Yeah.
able to fill it.
Absolutely. And I saw how agents interacted with their clients as well, right? And some of it was awesome and some of it wasn't. And so I learned a lot from agents before I actually got into the business.
That's it. You were a student right from the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Mine isn't so much my previous work experience, it's my life experience.
Okay, can everyone hear Jody?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
So I've moved 55 times in my life. I went to 13 different schools.
So just a second. So 55, 5.
5, yeah. I've moved 55 times in my life. I went to 13 different schools. My dad had a really high pressure RCMP high up job.
Yeah.
So we had to move, but when we were kids, we were sheltered from all of that. So as far as moving and transactionally from start to finish, I have a real appreciation for how it impacts every member of the family.
Right.
So respecting that, communicating about that, I think is probably my biggest value add.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of crazy and have a sense of humor, so just go with that.
So you mix that in with it.
Well, that's kind of, but as far as like remembering an elevator pitch, I don't know. Hi.
But you don't need to remember. Hi, I'm Jody.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all, it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
It really is. Like, sometimes I think we try to complicate things and, some people really need systems and they really need, to be comfortable, they really need to be able to have
I just
something
need to
that they
understand
say.
the concept and then I'm good.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's my value. I mean, I've done sales and management and operations and all of that bullshit. All of that's one thing. But I'm passionate about homes and decor and I do staging and decorating and own a business about it. And
Yep.
So that's what I bring.
awesome, awesome. Anyone else?
I sold heat pumps for the last 7 or 8 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
And I still do because it benefits my clients, and I know a lot about like efficiency and rebates and different programs that can help
Yeah.
people, whether they're selling or buying or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, see, and there's value add.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to see that none of us have the same value proposition. Right, everybody's got their own unique thing that they're bringing to the table for clients, for buyers and sellers, for industry members that you're working with. So when we say there's enough business out there for everyone, there's enough business out there for everyone because you have a unique ability to tap into a market and with specific people that other people don't. And there's going to be specific people that are going to see more value in what you offer than what somebody else offers. Right, so it's good to have these conversations and be able to say, this is what my value is. This is why you should work with me. You're not, maybe with some people, you're going to say it that clearly. But with other people, you're not going to. It's going to be a little bit softer. Anyone else want to share or have anything to add? Benefits of the value proposition. So this one is, if you're following along in your book, this is page 15 of this chapter. So it helps you define, it helps your clients understand you. It helps your clients understand your value and your expertise, which is exactly what we're talking about, right? We're all coming from different parts and different industries, and you're going to be able to share that. It helps you protect your commission when your buyers or sellers, specifically your sellers, because they're typically the ones that are offering the commission. When they know what value you're bringing and how you're going to work for them and how you're going to work on behalf of them and protect them, it helps to protect your commission. And it builds strong and trusting relationships. And though that, going back to what Holly said, and that differential in the percentage of clients that would use the same real estate agent again versus ones that actually do, that's where that comes in, building strong and trusting relationships. And part of that is following up. Right, so and that's part of what lead gen is following up, checking in with people, making sure that you're maintaining those relationships. Relationships just don't happen, and relationships are not sustained on their own. Like, you think about somebody that you're very close with, you'd have a very different conversation with them than you would somebody that you haven't talked to in 5 years. Right, so the maintenance of relationships is really important. So here are some examples of value proposition in different companies. So we have Airbnb, Walmart, Slack, Grammarly, QuickBooks, and State Farm. So if we want to, somebody want to pick one and someone else want to pick another one, and we'll just go through it and see what they're actually saying for value proposition. Okay,
Sure,
go ahead.
let's pick Airbnb, thanks. Jesus.
Okay,
So Airbnb exists to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. So basically, what I get out of that is it's good for anybody, anywhere.
right. Does it also create the question that maybe some other places don't provide that,
Yeah, it does.
right?
Yeah.
Because
That-
it's especially the authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, the word providing means that it's not an automatic.
Right. It's not the Westin Halifax, right?
Right, it's a unique experience.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyone else want to pick another one?
I can read Grammarly.
Okay,
Great writing simplified. Compose bold, clear, mistake-free writing with Grammarly's AI-powered writing assistant.
right. So did these make you want to use the services or the companies?
No,
No,
my phone tells me I write wrong enough all the time.
I
No.
say Airbnb is very good. That's a very
Yeah.
good one. Grammarly is just kind of okay, you know?
Mhm.
I love State Farm.
yeah, it's really short and concise, isn't it?
Well, and you know, we're inundated with so much negative news and you hear such horror stories, and having gone through a number of real estate ventures on my own and all the various roles that I've had, we need to
Yeah.
help each other to get through this life. So I think what people sometimes need to hear is that I'm going to deal with the stress, and you know what, your process will. It's just about helping each other to get there, right? I love
Right.
that one.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
would
that's
you,
good.
agree that most of, well, all of them that are up here as examples are client focused? Like they're not focused on so much on the company as it is providing something to a client.
Definitely.
It probably is, but what's Slack? That doesn't, Slack just doesn't sound.
It's like a workplace chat bot or something, isn't it?
No clue.
Let's find out. Does anybody know what Slack
It's
is?
like an internal Zoom, I think,
Okay,
but like I think it's like also got like a chat, like a workplace group text in its own. I could be
It
wrong.
is, no instant messaging program designed by Slack Technologies and owned by Salesforce.
Yeah.
Yeah, professional and organizational. applications.
there you go.
So you can have like a group chat in its own entity with your colleagues
Okay.
that doesn't bother your phone, so you have to go into the app to get into it.
What's
Okay.
What's interesting is you have Slack here, so Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together, but yet when you look online, it says Slack is a new way to communicate, or new way to communicate with your team. It's faster, better organized, and more secure than email. This one online is better than what's what's there. That's funny.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I want to focus on is that it's client centered. Right, so when you have your value proposition, you want to make sure it's client centered and that a lot of these are posing solutions to a possible question. Possible question for us, for our clients are going to be, how do I buy or how do I sell? Right, so how are we solving that problem? What's the answer to that question? And that needs to be part of your value proposition. Anybody have any questions or comments so far? We're probably going to finish before 2 hours
Sure.
is done, just so you know. Because there are some situations that they ask you to work in groups in the room for 5 to 10 minutes, but I think we'll probably talk through those rather than breaking off into small groups. Okay, I think there's going to be a lot more value. I think there's more value, and it's hard to do online for you to be able to break into small groups. Okay. All right, so the next one is to be able to connect your value to your KW, and to your market center value, fiduciary, as well as market expert. So I know you were talking about being a market expert last week with Brenda Kay. And she is amazing when it comes to being a local market expert. And she will share about that, and she is amazing to just sit and listen to. So if you were not able to make that session, was that one on Friday? It was Friday. So if you weren't able to be there for that session, check on the YouTube channel, and it should be uploaded. If it's not already uploaded, it'll be uploaded in the next day or so. Because she's an amazing agent to learn from. So these are the things that you want to be able to connect your value to. So KW as an overall whole, which we talked about what is the mission and what are the values, the fiduciary duty that we all have with our clients, and to be a market expert. So what does that look like with the market that you're working, the specific buyers that you're working with, the specific sellers that you're working with? Okay, and just to clarify, I feel like most of them are self-explanatory with the exception of the fiduciary duty. That one is wanting to make sure that you are putting your clients' needs above everything else. Like you're representing them, and that is a bylaw, that is a legal thing that's in our contract to be able to maintain and represent and commit to the fiduciary duties
DC
that you
Cola.
have. What's that?
DC Cola.
DC Cola. There you go.
Took me a minute, it's there.
Does anybody else remember what DC Cola is?
Freaking flashbacks.
I know, to the course.
Yeah.
Oh, Jody's working it out.
Well, you can tell us.
Yeah, but I don't.
He's trying to remember.
Confidentiality be one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Loyalty. Don't know.
accountability,
Obligation.
competency,
Confidentiality, no.
What's the D?
What's the D? Dedication?
Disclosure?
Oh,
There you
So
go.
everybody put it in their weekly 411.
Right there. Yeah.
disclosure.
If I wasn't doing that, I'll do my legion.
confidentiality, competency,
Obligation, loyalty. And what's A? Accountability?
Accountability.
sure.
No, I want the answer, not a sure.
You got Google the same way I do.
Oh.
O is obedience.
Oh, so
Obedience.
All right.
that's the one that always makes me chuckle when you're going through the buyer or the sellers, the SBDA, the BBVA, that you will obey all sellers' legal directions.
Yes, that is, yeah, I giggle over that one too.
I know. It always-
Lawful, they're lawful instruction.
Yep, yeah, it always makes a fun conversation in the middle of that dry.
Yeah. Can't break the law for you, but
Yeah, exactly. I can do a lot of things for you.
But I'm
if-
not going to
if
jail.
it crosses over into illegal, that's it. Yeah, you're
Mm.
not, yeah, exactly.
yeah, not going to jail for you. Like you, but nope.
Yeah, but not that much. So if you are a newer agent, this is where some people struggle with their value proposition because it's trying to find what you have to offer if you don't have a lot of experience. Like if you don't have years of experience as an agent, how can you pull that into your value proposition as an agent for clients? So here it talks about use the market center. So use market center stats, talk about collective knowledge and experience of nearly 200,000 agents worldwide. Be able to figure out how that will overlap into the services that you're providing. And then it is the fiduciary duty and the market expert. Does anybody have any comments to this point? No? Okay. The one thing that I will add for KW and the market center is the education that is provided here. Majority of it, like 98% of it, is free of charge. Take as much education, watch as much YouTube through the market center as you can, because that is an incredible value add that you're able to say, you know, that you are involved in education centers or sessions weekly to be able to make sure you're at the top of your game and that you're increasing your knowledge base and that you're working at the highest level within the industry. You're able to take some of that information and apply it directly to your buyers and to your sellers. So the question now is, what other knowledge, attitudes, skills, or beliefs do you individually possess that are going to make you, that are going to be used in your value add proposition? So for Alex, he's in trades, right? So he understands blue collar work ethic. He understands what it takes to, you know, put your head down and get that done.
And that's another thing I'm supposed to, like, all my people is that I came from that background, like, I had no friends or most of my family, everyone had a trade. So I've been around plumbing and heating and electrical and framing and roofing and foundations and septics, wells, my whole life.
Right.
So you just absorb over a lifetime of being around that, even as a recreation.
Yeah, it's true. You just absorb information,
Yeah.
right? You pick things up.
So like I always joke on every showing that my favorite room in the house is the utility room. And then everyone's always like rolls their eyes, it's not, it's like, yeah, well, 9 out of 10 problems that you're gonna have at midnight is gonna be in this room, so you need to know this room.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. But to be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Anyone else? What are some things that are gonna make you stand out, or things, skills that you have that are gonna add value?
One of the things that I have is the designation of, excuse me, seniors real estate expert. So we live in a boomer province. And that does come in handy. I refer back to that
Yeah.
information once in a while and learn how to be, working with seniors is, although I'm almost one now, is a whole lot different than working with, first-time homeowners, and you have to kind of understand the difference.
Oh, you crack me up. Oh, that's too funny. So just for some of the newer agents, how did you get that designation?
Through a course, I took a course, an in-session course, and then wrote an exam.
Okay.
So it's called Seniors Real Estate Expert, SRE. I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's Seniors Real Estate Expert.
Right. And so do you use that in any of your conversations,
Yes,
promotional?
Yep, I do. Of course, not with first-time homeowners, but with people that, maybe are leaving their home that they've lived in for 50 years and they're not quite sure how to, downsize their stuff. And even though, you could be a stager, you could be whatever, dealing with, staging a house as opposed to helping these people understand how they can get rid of stuff and just be patient. A lot of people in general, not just real estate agents, don't really want, or not that they don't want it, that's not what I want to say. It's tough to be patient with people that when you want to move quickly, and I don't mean move, I mean move along quickly, and they don't. You have to know that. You have to be patient. You have to go back there 3 times. You know what I mean? And they may not be tech savvy. So you have to keep, that in mind, that they don't want to, download your app, and they don't want to, I have talked a lot of seniors though into Dotloop, and they're like, oh my God, I love this, because it's easier for them. But you just have to have to get out of, first-time homeowner thing, which I love too, and get into the senior mindset of these people that have lived in their house for 50 years and how to help them.
So I
And
love
deal with their children,
right,
like their adult children that,
it's true. So I love what you just said about mindset. Right, it's acknowledging that everybody that we deal with has a mindset. It's figuring out what is that mindset and
Mhm.
how to best communicate, connect, and support them in that.
exactly.
Yeah. Anyone else? What are some skills or beliefs or ways that you approach life or experiences that you feel are going to add value to your relationship with your clients?
Janice, it's Tanya. I can offer up something. Can you hear me?
Sure. Yeah.
So what I usually share with the people I'm working with is that I've lived in old homes, like almost 100-year-old homes, brand new builds, first owner. I've had leaky basements. I have all kinds of different kinds of heating sources. I've lived on water. I've lived, in condos and stuff. So
Yeah.
I like to share that. I never, ever try to position myself as any type of expert when it comes to anything that an inspection will touch. But what I usually try to make a joke, and I say, you guys go look at the view. I'm going to be over here checking out the foundation, right? Or
Right.
you're looking at the curb appeal or whatever, and I'm eyeballing the roof and checking out the shingles.
Yeah.
So I try to create this team feel.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys fall in love with it, and don't worry. I'm gonna make sure between the inspection and everything else that I can see. And I was on an inspection, the inspector didn't even pick it up. My least favorite thing is basements with furniture jammed in the corners, right?
Yeah.
So I went and he was inspecting this house, and I moved a side table in a basement bedroom, and I pressed my foot on the laminate floor, and all this water started to squish up between in my sock. So
Oh, no.
I like
Oh
to
my
use that
God.
example. Yeah, I like to use that example. I called the inspector over, but I mean, they're not supposed to be moving furniture, right? So I said,
Yeah.
oh, you might want to come back in here. So that's just kind of what I do is I say, you know what, you guys fall in love. I'm going to be looking for problems for you.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. It's a great approach, Tanya.
That's a nice touch. Am I being heard?
Yes, Mike. you are.
Always,
Yeah.
Mike, always.
I never use, no, I'm using a tablet and I never turn the thing off. Anyway, one of the things I think is really important to people, I come from a wide range of industries and business. I'm an old rig pig, came off an oil rig. I've worked trades going through school. My dad's a pipe fitter. All my family are tradespeople. So, you know, I kind of grew up in it as well. But I also taught sales training for a number of years. And it was based on the same studies that Xerox training came from. So it was pretty good sales course, but it was all based on needs analysis. So just going back to the very start, when you meet a buyer, I think not enough agents give enough time getting to know the buyer and what their actual needs are, not what their
Yeah.
wants are, but what their needs are. What are the deal breakers?
Yeah.
And so when you're showing a property, you know, don't be that idiot real estate agent that points at a kitchen and says, and this is the kitchen. Because I guess the buyers don't know what a kitchen looks like, right? But you want to be able to go through that house. And when you look in the backyard and you see a fence and you say, and look, it's fenced in, like you were saying you wanted for your dog, or a safe area where your kids wouldn't get out of your yard. You know, talk about the things that's important to them.
Yeah,
And
go back to
what-
that conversation, yes.
and one of the most important things, and this is where I always bring it up, is that people have always been gun shy. It doesn't matter what industry it is. You walk into retail, what's the first thing the salesperson says to you?
Can I help
Yeah.
you?
Exactly. And what's the knee-jerk response? Just
No,
looking.
thanks, I'm just looking.
When they come in,
Yeah.
when they come into an open house, it's the same environment.
It totally is the same. That was exactly the example I used yesterday. Right.
Exactly. That's what I was going to point out. And the other thing is, they're so used to people trying to prey on them
Yeah.
that they're worried about your motivation. Are you
Yes.
here just to put another paycheck in your pocket? Are you here for me? And so you want to make it very clear that, look, and this is my line, like, you know, I don't care if I get paid today or I get paid in 6 months. My job is to find you the best property that I can find that meets your needs. And however long it takes, that's how long it takes. I'm
Yeah.
not going to rush you. I'm not going to push you into something. And if anything, I may wind up talking you out of buying a house
Yes,
because I don't think it's the right one.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that gets your loyalty and that gets them on your side.
yeah, it does.
I think what's interesting there, Mike, is I had a guy, every time I walked into, like, I don't know, let's say Sports Check or Foot Locker or whatever, looking for anything, they always just, is there anything I can help you with? Just like you said, right? And the answer is no, right? Because that's our script. And so one day I finally walked into one over in Dartmouth Crossing, and Buddy just made a comment on the sneakers I was wearing. He goes, geez, those are great sneakers. Where'd you get those at? Over at such a place? And he just totally reversed it, right? So it was
Yeah.
interesting to hear him. But you know, 42, that was the first time I've ever had anybody at one of those places actually reverse it and actually have something to offer, I guess.
The retail trainers now have started doing that. They're telling them that that's the wrong approach. And some listen, some don't, you know? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Janice,
Yeah.
can I just add a little something about getting
Sure.
to know your people? So I signed someone up in my collaboration center. I mean, I'm coming up on year 2 of being a realtor, and she was one of the first people I signed up. And what I did was, it was in Paragon. I make detailed notes in their contact card, how I met them, while they're talking to me, I'll either email it to myself so I can search it in my inbox and then I put it in there, or I put it right in there. And honestly, she's turned up and she wants me to start showing her houses after all this time. And I was
Yeah.
so grateful that I could go back in there and
Yeah.
be like, who is this person? Because, you know, you're sending out the things and you check in every once in a while, but I even had like where she works and what her children are up to. And it just, I was able to step back into that, hey, we're friends kind of thing. I remember what you're all about.
Right, which then it feels good for her.
Absolutely. Yeah. She doesn't want to feel like, oh, you forgot all about me. Now you're asking me to sign a BDBA.
Yes,
There-
exactly.
There's an old saying in the industry, eh? People don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yes, it's so true. So true. Yeah. Yeah, so for some people, it might be that they speak 2 or 3 languages, right? That's gonna be their value add. It's gonna be one of the things that's gonna make them stand out, because they're gonna be able to work with a specific buyer who has speaks that language, and that might be their first language versus English being their second language. And so then they feel more supported. They feel like their communication is better, it's clearer. It might be that you share a similar passion for something, I don't know, bird watching, right? That you're able to connect with somebody on that. So kind of evaluate what you are passionate about, what your skills are, and then look for clues in some of those conversations and relationships, because to be honest, the majority of this industry is based on relationships and connections. There's very few buyers or sellers that only want a transactional relationship with their agent. There's very few of them, because it's very much a trust-based industry, right? We all know that this is the biggest asset that somebody's gonna have, and they're gonna trust it with you. So it's a big responsibility. So to figure this part out is gonna be really helpful in a lot of your conversations. Let's see, so what matters to buyers and sellers? So some of this we've already talked about, but we're gonna go through it because, so the graphs that you're gonna see on here are from NAR, so the National Association of Realtors in the States. Okay. So for buyers, their goal is to find just the right home at the best price at the right time with the least number of problems. For the sellers, their goal is to net the most money in the shortest amount of time with the least number of problems. So it's interesting that both of them at the very end have the least number of problems. So what does the least number of problems mean? So when you think about that and you hear those statements, what do you think of when you hear the least number of problems?
Problems that they feel are problems. So if we take care of what potentially could be a problem, and that doesn't end up being a problem, it's not a problem.
Right, so you're being proactive.
Right.
And anticipating. Yeah, so what would a few examples of that be?
Pre-approvals and get financing.
Pre-approvals and financing, yes,
That's the only one.
especially for buyers, but also for sellers,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, because you don't want to show someone a house for a seller
Right.
that isn't able to buy.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to be showing something that's not even in their price range.
Come on, Holly, back me up here.
Sorry, I muted myself. Say that again. What was it?
I just said, like, as far as anticipating problems, getting a buyer pre-approved prior to showing them a home is being proactive in overcoming that issue. But
Absolutely.
struggling to think of any others off the top of my head, to be honest.
Well, for buyers, for one thing, getting them some good service providers, like making sure that they understand the importance of a home inspection. You know, and having the right inspector do the right job. And
Yes.
being there and, you know, talking over the problems with them, or, you know, things that, you know, may be a problem, or they might think is a problem, and it's not really, and to leave their dad at home, please, and thank you.
Oh,
Oh, that's, yeah,
that happened to me.
yeah. And that is
It's
very
happened
true.
to us all.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyone else? What are some problems that you think that may come up for buyers or sellers? that we're able to anticipate. We're never gonna be able to anticipate all of the problems or all of the issues that may come up, but what are some things that we can?
Would staging or decorating or decluttering, that kind of thing, would that be kind of bad?
Well, that
For
would
seller?
lead into, for a seller, to be able to stage their
Market
home to get
kind of-
market appeal. But also for some buyers, they can't visualize what it actually looks like. So to be able to look at if it's a vacant home, stage it, you know, whether it's actual staging or virtual
Or-
staging. Right, decluttering, yeah. so you're
or
avoiding
even
the problem.
If you are a buyer's agent, and you're walking into a vacant home, so, you know, you're not the listing agent, you didn't tell them to stage it or whatever the case. But if you can help them visualize, and I do that all the time, because that's just where my mind goes, that's my MO. And, you know, just tell them that, oh yeah, definitely this room could, because sometimes you walk into a small room, like a bedroom, for example. And people say, oh no, I can't get my bed and my, you know, dressers in here. And you say, oh yeah, no, you can, if you put this here and you put that there, and you know, this closet is big, stick a little desk in there. And you wouldn't believe, like, some people are like, oh geez, never thought of that. So that, in my opinion, that is you know, taking care of a problem that they may have seen as a problem, but really it's not.
Oh, that's great, that's a good one. Anyone else have anything to add for that?
Potential problem with purchasing a house could be an unknown planned development that's going to pop up in a backyard, and not being able to, you know, foresee this necessarily.
And if anybody knows how to deal with that and give Jillian some tips, that'd be great.
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah,
Okay,
outside
there's
of
an
calling.
inside joke going on there.
Well,
No,
land
no.
registration, planning and development, trying to get answers. If anyone's had to do this in the past and has some insight into that, I would love to hear it today.
So
Well,
what's-
actually, I showed a house last year, well, of course it was last year, that the listing agent was proactive enough to put that information in the docs tab, because there was going to be a development. Then that same buyer, so we weren't, you know, going there. And then that same buyer, we looked at, and I can't remember the location, but anyway, we drove around. I actually drove around because I was early, drove around, and I went, oh, I wonder what's going on down. So it was like a side road. So you went down a side road, and then you kind of turn the corner, and I saw like backhoes and, you know, those, I can't think off the top of my head, but the equipment that removes trees and all that stuff. And I went, oh, wow, that looks like there could be something going on here. Did a little research, asked the agent to find out, asked her to ask her buyer what was going on. And she didn't even know. The agent didn't even know. So yes, the buyer did know that there was something going on. And, you know, in one of our, I think it's the property disclosure. Do you know if there's anything happening, like whatever? And they did not put that in the property disclosure. As a matter of fact, well, this doesn't matter, but the property disclosure wasn't even done by then. So, you know, sometimes it's online, sometimes you just
Right.
have to research, you have to, you know, ask the buyer, like, do you know, or the seller, sorry, if you're a listing agent, do you know if there's anything going on around here? Like, and
Yeah.
you know, any potential whatever. So, and I don't know if you can actually look it up online to find out. Maybe you can. I don't know that.
I mean, the lot in question is owned by a prominent developer here in Bedford. So it's like, it's likely, but it's just, you know, what is it? Trying to figure out what is it going to be is
Could you
posing a
pick up the phone
challenge.
and maybe call the developer and say, what do you got planned there, bud?
My words are in their voicemail whenever they get back to me, and if they can share that information, who knows? Yeah, and I'm planning and development might see my face today, just inquiring, but yeah.
Right.
I
Good
was gonna
idea.
say, you can, once it's approved, it's public knowledge, so you could go to the Halifax Planning and Development in
Yeah.
Halifax or Dartmouth, and they'd be able to tell you.
Can you
So
go
you-
online? Can you call them? Can you call them? Do you have to-
Yeah, I've called and left a voicemail there as well. The question I have, because on property online, it says I'm sorry if I'm taking everyone off topic here, but this says the parcel is exempt from the requirement for subdivision approval because it is a remainder portion of an original parcel of land. So would they even need to put in?
Oh, right.
They
But
would,
that original approval must be online somewhere.
Yeah,
so if you could find the PID or the neighboring parcel, you should be able to find out what the approval is.
right. Okay,
It's gonna take
more
a little-
digging.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Thank you,
sometimes-
guys. Thank you so much.
And
Oh.
sometimes you just can't because the parcel of land has and I forget the term, but it's a right of. It's already been approved. It's wide open. They do anything they want on that lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder it's just a matter of what it's gonna be. Is it gonna
Like
be 10
as of-
stories high or?
Like an
Yeah.
as of right.
As of right, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And then also look at the property and look around it and see, because maybe the person who owns it isn't gonna tell you diddly because he wants to buy 5 other lots around it.
Yeah,
Okay, that's happening
Mhm.
all the time too. They
yeah,
buy one and park it until they can get a bite on something else, and then they just go through.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes there's a long-term plan. For sure.
Awesome. Awesome, guys. Such valuable knowledge from everyone. Love it. Thank you.
And again, there it goes back to like a little mini mastermind, like, so what's everybody is their experience with this, and who do you call and how do you find out? And some people have gone pretty far down that road, so it's really helpful just to ask the question.
Awesome.
All right, now. So you guys are gonna do this in another session. The next 2 slides will be things that you will discuss in the buyer session specifically, and then a specific seller session during Ignite. So it'll be needs analysis, pre-qualification or pre-approval, neighborhood information, home search, make an offer, negotiating to buy, vendor coordination, pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. So that will be addressed in the buyer session. In the seller session, it will be very, very similar. Needs analysis, pricing strategy, property preparation, marketing strategy, receive an offer, negotiating to sell, pre-close preparation, closing, and post-closing. So we're not really going to spend any time on that today. This is one of the graphs that I had mentioned. So what buyers want most from their agent. I think this is on page 26, is it, in your book?
4.8.
4.8, there you go. So what do they want most? 52% of them want you to help them find the right home to purchase. That makes sense. And then 13% want you to help the buyer negotiate the terms of the sale. 11% want help with the price negotiation, and 24% want other. So some of those other items would be things like helping with paperwork, finding someone to get a referral for pre-approval. So that will encompass a fair amount of information.
That's 4.7, not 4.8.
Oh, 4.7, okay. Anybody have any comments about that one? Though that's going to be very similar. I know it's the American one, but it really is going to be really similar to the Canadian one. That's what the majority of buyers are going to want from you. Excuse me.
I have a question on this one, Janice, because I went through
Sure.
this. How do you, it's with respect to price negotiations. So the sense I got at the end of this interaction with a client, transaction closed and everything, was that they expected more from me when it came to price negotiation. After the inspection and when they were confirming their conditions, they're like, well, we want to knock another $10,000 off based on this, that, and the other thing. And I mean, I don't know how you'd put that in a value proposition, because that's making a promise that you can't keep, right? But I don't know, I don't understand what that expectation is and how I should even manage it. Maybe this is a completely other offline discussion, but I just left the interaction feeling like they felt I had let them down because I wouldn't go in, you know, and I said, well, they want to knock this much off, and there were some negotiations, but I feel like they wanted me to be more of shark in that regard. Has anyone else had that experience?
Anyone have any comments to that?
I don't mean the price, I don't mean negotiating the price of the purchase of the house. I mean, like, when the results of the inspection came back.
Right, post inspection.
Yeah.
I think many do, you know, they always want to get the best price. And I think the way, in my thoughts, the way to deal with that is let them know that, you know, you follow their instructions and you work for them. However, as being the industry expert, your job there is to advise and guide them. So, you know, let's discuss whatever it is that you're talking about. But let me also point out where the dangers are for you. For example, if we show any dissatisfaction, this other can cancel the deal. This house is yours right now, and it's up yours to lose. They can't take it away from you. But if you put a complaint in or put an amendment in asking for less money, they have the right to cancel the deal. Do you want to
Yeah.
risk that?
Well,
Yeah.
with the 408s, they can't kick us out anymore.
Yeah. So, but that's, you know, that's one of the things in this market, you know,
Yeah,
they could have a backup offer. And it's
yes,
just sitting there, you know, waiting to take your place. And we don't know that, but if there's multiple offers, there's a good chance there's a backup offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was in this particular instance, and it sounds awful, but I completely disagreed with my buyers. I'm like, no, you're getting a great deal here. And they're just, I've dealt with them for a long time. They just want to get everything that they can. So they started walking around going, well, would they be willing to leave that lawnmower? And what about if, because they had this feeling that they needed to get something extra. So, but those are good tips, Michael. Thank you.
so I find, and anybody else can jump in here, but I find in this shift, what's happening right now is buyers are further down the road with asking for price reductions than sellers are down the road willing to give them. Right, the buyers are always a few steps ahead.
Yes, I
sellers.
agree. I
Uh,
agree.
So I feel like there are parts. Hi. So the buyers are at this point wanting to still negotiate. Whereas we've just come out of 2.5 years where there was no negotiating. Like there was no negotiating skills required because none of us were doing it. It was either you
Right.
take the offer or you don't.
Right. Yeah.
That was that.
But yeah, I'm battling with that a lot right now too. Like I'm explaining to buyers, like we have to give something back if we
Yes.
ask for something.
Yeah.
So like I'm doing it actually currently, and like we're asking for an extremely unfortunate extension in conditions.
Mm.
So we may have to offer more money. We may have to up the purchase price for them to give us 4 more weeks of conditions.
Right, yeah, that is a really long
Right.
time. Yep.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the negotiation, right? Like that's kind of going back and forth. And sometimes you're negotiating with your clients to say, well, this is the possibility and that's part of our job. So if we ask for this, there's a possibility that this could happen. So we just need to be preparing them back and forth. So I think, Tanya, it's a tough position to be in, but doing what you did and just preparing them and saying, you know, this is where we are. We can ask for this. They're not going to be able to kick us out at this point until 408 is signed. But do we want, it needs to be win-win for everyone, right? It goes back to what are our beliefs? It needs to be win-win. We need to be communicating. We need to be trying to provide the best service that we can.
And the other side of it is, you know, I like to have good, solid relationships with all the realtors I'm working with, right? And I never
Yes.
want my client to be, you know, we follow their directions. And I did
Yes.
explain the, you know, what could end up happening, but you don't want to look like a jackass to the other side. And I always have to remind myself, we all know we're following our clients' directions, right?
And it's easy for you to say, at my client's directive, I have been asked to.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I did.
Keeping that communication well versed, right? Like just it's part of your conversation. But it's hard. It's hard, and I find it's hard in this market because some of the sellers are like, nope, I don't want that. No, that's okay. So then your buyer has to decide, okay, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna walk? Or are we not? Does anybody else have anything to offer on that? No. No, okay. So what buyers want most. And then factors that buyers value. So this kind of piggybacks on what we just talked about. But what do they value when they're choosing their agent? So the majority of them, 20, well, not majority, but 20% want an agent that's honest and trustworthy. So in your communication, you need to communicate that. You need to talk honestly with people. Like exactly what you said, Tanya, like I'm going to tell you if you should buy this or not. I'm going to point out the things that are wrong with this house. I'm working for you. And then 18% agents experience, 17% are the reputation of the agent, and then 44% are other. So again, it goes back to, you know, can you help them navigate the process, fill out the paperwork? Can you refer them to good people for inspections, for some of the follow-up that might need to be done for a lawyer? Do you have good connections to be able to help them with that?
And that big 44% is other, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Those are the things that are, yeah, that's a big portion of other that
It is.
because
Because sometimes
ambiguous.
also- Yeah, and sometimes also it will be, well, a real estate agent is a family friend or a family member, right? So they're not really choosing their agent based on other items. They're choosing it because the family member or a family friend.
Right.
Some cases, people don't feel like they have a choice in that. They feel a bit of an obligation. So those ones are tough. It's really hard to work against that. Because you can't. There's a loyalty factor that you're dealing with. Any comments about any of those? Okay. So, and then this is what sellers want from their agents. Help in pricing the home competitively for 21%, for 20%, help the seller market their home to potential buyers. 16% help sell their home within a specific time frame. Again, 16% help the seller finds ways to fix up their home to sell it for more money. And then 27% is other. Some of them would be to help the buyer, bring the buyer. Some of that is percentage of the other is the seller expecting you to bring a buyer to the transaction as well. Again, negotiating, helping with paperwork, referrals within your referral network is also in the other. So the reason we're going through these fairly quickly is to make sure that you're able to pull on some of these to add them to your value proposition. Okay, so they are important in that from that point of view for this session. 32% is for reputation of the agent. When a seller is considering choosing an agent, they'll go 32% on reputation. 19% the agent is honest and trustworthy. 17% agent is a family friend, a family member or a friend, and then 44% is other. So some of the 44% in this one would be if you are a neighborhood expert, if you are deemed as the local expert, there would be a portion of that 44% that comes over time, right? That's not something if you do one mail drop and you do one door knock, all of a sudden you're the agent that is the neighborhood expert. That comes from multiple touches, multiple times, people seeing you out around, they're hearing from you in different ways that you become the neighborhood expert. So that one does take a while to develop and to grow in. Any questions or comments about those two or few slides? And then what sellers consider when choosing an agent, 32% is the reputation of the agent. 19% is the agent is honest and trustworthy. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, me too, but it's not really
Agents,
high.
that they're not high percentages. Only 19% of us have to be honest and trustworthy. Oh, this is being recorded, isn't it? Okay. So all of us need to be honest and
At
trustworthy.
least 19% of the time.
At the end, then 17% is the agent is a family member or a friend, and again, 44% is other. So, and some of that, again, we'll go back to, they've been referred to you by someone, you were the neighborhood expert. You've caught them they've had a previous interaction with you, so they have an established relationship. So there are quite a few things that have smaller percentages that are in the other section. When we are adding technology to your value proposition, then you can certainly discuss this with people that see technology as an advantage. There's going to be certain people like Holly. I love how you had some of your seniors sign on to DocuSign. I love that. Because
Yeah.
that would have been very exciting for them, right?
It was exciting. And well, it was .loop, but I mean, it's just so it's easy. It's easy.
Yes.
But, you know, obviously you have to go through the whole, you know, contract with them before they go sign. But they
Yeah.
loved it. Like, they just really liked it.
Yeah, and it makes them feel like you're trying to make things simpler for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to be able to add technology into your value proposition, and whether it's the KW app, like, you know, here, use my app when you're traveling anywhere. If you ever want to look up a property, just open the app. You know, and you can look up a property wherever. And people love that. Whether they're clients or family and friends, right? They love to be able to look at real estate wherever they go, because they will have be driving down the road and say, oh, I wonder how much that house is worth. Right, we'll just say, pull up your app. So it's added value. It's just one more thing for them. And then to be able to use command, be able to connect with them on different levels, depending on what their appreciation is for technology. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start defining your value proposition. So for each of you. So in your book, what page is that on?
410.
410,
I
okay,
double
so-
checked this time.
So to be able to identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. Transform the value you provide and the value of KW and your market center into benefits for your clients, and then build your value proposition statement. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to, for step one, there should be spots that you can write down. So if you want to take a couple of minutes to write down what your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs are that will make you a great real estate agent, because this is where we're going to start building your value proposition. And then we're going to talk about a couple of them. We'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Right. How is everyone getting along?
Good.
Good, all right.
I'm finding
Anybody?
beliefs and attitudes. I'm having a hard time differentiating those. The same with skills and knowledge. I
Right,
think it'll take a little more time.
yeah, and that is one of the things that I think it's important to know about a value proposition is it's constantly changing. Right, the more you learn, the more you're able to offer, the different experiences you have, the different education you have, the more you're able to offer and add to your value proposition. So I don't think it's something that you do and all of a sudden it's done. Right, it's something that you probably go back to each year and you can add to it or you can change it. Sometimes life experience changes how we're going to, if you've never bought a house and then you buy a house and you go through the process, that may influence what your value proposition is. May influence how you approach it, how you deal with buyers or sellers. Okay, now let's. Gosh. 1 second, trying to get the slide to switch. Okay, now. What about the market center? Is there anything in the market center that you would see would add to a benefit in your value proposition? Some of them we've already talked about, but always find it interesting. People have different views and see different values and different things, so it's good to write those down.
I'm a huge one with having not even been a realtor for 2 years of stating that I have an amazing brokerage team that I go to all the time. And I will always tell my clients, I might not know the answer to everything. And I think, even the brokers will say they don't know the answer to everything. So, but I always say, I will go and get the best possible answer for you from my highly experienced broker team.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a great way to handle it, Tanya.
So one of the things that I like to touch on when it comes to value systems is that as agents, there's brokerages for everyone. And I aligned myself with KW because the values of KW really resonated with my own personal values and belief systems. And that when you align yourself with people who share that same positive feeling towards the world in general and professionally, you can't help but just raise your level and working hard to always bring positive results for clients and knowing that your brokerage 150% supports the same belief system that you do can only help in anything that we do.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to have that conversation, Sherry.
It works really well. It's easy to speak to it. I don't have to find an excuse for my brokerage if something bad happens. I'm like, because things are dealt with properly. So I don't know. I feel confident going out into the world with the KW brand on me.
Yeah, I know I'm working through something with clients that we closed on their house 1.5 years ago, and the broker team has it, right? And it's something that's come back, and it's amazing. And my clients have no doubt. Like, no, we know it's being taken care of. We know that your brokerage has it, which the only contact they have with my brokerage is myself and me talking about the brokerage, talking about the brokers, talking about the values of Keller Williams. So over time, that instills confidence and it instills trust.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to be able to rely on that. It's wonderful.
And if you haven't been with another brokerage, because I started out with a different one, the first thing I noticed right away when I came over to KW is that they are on top of everything. Like the way I was filing my paperwork at the other brokerage, I was speaking with a colleague who also left that brokerage and we were looking at each other. We're damn lucky we didn't get sued. So, and I'm not saying anything bad. I know this is being recorded. I'm certainly not saying anything bad about any other brokerages, but I really like how on top of everything KW is. I don't even have to ask. They look at the stuff and come back and make corrections, right?
Yes, yep, they do, and then they ask you to update it, this is not completed properly, you're missing a signature or initial here. You need to go back and have that done. They really are protecting you. Which in turn protects your clients.
And like, if you're looking at it on the bit, like, if you have a client that's on the whole other end of the spectrum, like they just simply want to talk business. I mean, we're one of the biggest in the province, and let alone the biggest in the world.
Yes, yeah,
So obviously, global doesn't really pertain to getting that house sold in Tantalent, but you can say, I have 300 agents at my disposal just within my office that have buyers. And that's without even tapping into the other brokerages in the province.
yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And that we have really great, I'd be curious to know what the stats are now. I know when I started, there was a specific percentage on how many properties are sold by KW agents from KW agents.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry,
What's going on
I'm,
with that utility room?
there's there's a noise on the other side of the wall. It sounds like somebody's mudding or sanding over there. Yeah, so it's great just to be able to pull those conversations in, because then it shows that you're supported and that the brokerage is doing all that they can. So now you're going to build your value proposition statement. So you think back to what we talked about with Airbnb and Walmart and State Farm, and that it was client-centered, that they were getting ready to solve a problem, that they were making sure that the client had the information, that the experience was going to be what is going to be your value proposition. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges that if you don't know how to frame it or how to. So mine is really quite long. So I'll read you what mine is. To assist my clients in navigating smooth and stress-free real estate transactions through experience, knowledge, and communication. All of which is blanketed by building relationships with everyone who's part of the transaction and listening to what is both spoken and unspoken. So it's really long. I'm still trying to pare it down. But there's a lot that I want to communicate. So sometimes it's hard to condense them. I could never be like a State Farm value proposition where it's like 5 or 6 words. That doesn't communicate what I needed to communicate. So it's individual, but part of that is the communication and the talking about it as you're leading up and building those relationships, and every part of those interactions and conversations are confirming what your value proposition is. It's just really putting it into words. Even just to get something down and then to be able to work on it over the next few days, next week.
Mine is 3 words long.
Yours is 3 words long.
Yeah, and I can't get my hand out of it. I got you.
I got you.
I got you.
There you go.
That's all I. can
Well,
say
that's
there.
it though. That's for you. That's perfect. But everything that you have is going to feed into that.
I know. It's just stuck there. I'm like,
Yeah.
Right.
Just mine's fairly short. Like blue collar work ethic, white collar industry.
Mhm.
And that's my circle, like my sphere is. Middle class, upper middle class, like sort of the trades people, the like. 9 out of 10 of my deals are on well and septic.
Yeah.
So like I pretty much don't go to a seller's house without a shovel in my truck. So they're gonna need their septic dug up. And
Yeah.
9 over 10 of them don't know where it even is.
Yeah.
The amount of times I help dug up septic, it's great. The inspectors aren't gonna do it.
No, they won't. They'll say, I need to come back.
Yeah, and like most people don't want an excavator tracking all around their yard, digging test holes, trying to find a tank.
Mhm. Yeah, especially if they really don't know
Yeah,
where it
and
is.
that's a big thing I put on myself, like too, is like, I'll find it. Or at least I'll know roughly where it is.
How do you do that? Like, how do you walk in, be able to go, okay, so your septic is there?
So you can usually see the field.
Yeah.
Not all, but there's a good chance it's gonna be, no matter what, it's gonna be on the opposite side of the house from the well. So if you can find
Yeah.
the well, it's a pretty much 100% chance it's gonna be on the other side of the house, or it's illegal.
Right, yeah, run into those.
It also has to be at least 50 feet from the road. Yeah, so then you can so once you figure out the side of the house, you just start looking at the ground, you can usually see depressions or impressions.
Yeah,
And if you really want to get crazy, there's usually a hairline crack in the foundation where, right above where that pipe comes through it.
oh, and that's my other thing. I was wondering about the, like, the outtake. Would that be a giveaway? Because if the outtake's on like the east side of the house, well, then chances are your septic is just outside of that.
Yeah, now sometimes the tank's gonna be 6 feet from the foundation, sometimes it'll be 30. But
Right,
that's hard to look at the lay of the land and like. Figure out where the field is, be like, the tank's not gonna be right at the field, there's gonna be a lateral between the tank and the field.
yeah. Interesting. Oh, that's fascinating.
It is, that's a course.
It is, yeah. Okay, so just a
We could go to different sites and Alex could help us figure out where all the septics are.
Yeah.
right, we'll just play like a treasure hunt to be like, Alex, where's the septic?
No. There's usually now, this day and age, you get pretty damn lucky with these PVC risers. It's like,
Yes, yeah.
well, there's the tank. Cause it's got 2 big green sewer covers sticking out of the garage.
really makes a big difference when
Yeah.
they have those.
Yeah, or if they have a C3 field.
It definitely makes it easier, for sure. Does anybody else want to read theirs? Because Jody and Alex, did you guys hear theirs?
No, I didn't hear, I didn't hear Alex's.
Oh, Alex's
What?
is blue collar worker.
I bring blue collar work ethic into a white collar industry.
Oh, that's so good.
I know, isn't it?
Damn you being concise like that. Okay. Awesome. I mean, yay, that's wonderful for you. Bugger, mine's gonna read like War and Peace. Okay, who's the other one that did theirs?
Jody.
Yeah.
What's yours, Jody?
Oh, I got you.
Oh, that's a tagline.
It's a hashtag.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the hashtag.
You should put, I got you in everything you ever post.
I will.
Darn it. Okay. Yeah, mine's nowhere near that. I don't even have one, to be honest. It's like, I have like points at this moment. I don't have anything else.
So, anyone else have anything written down? Or that they've worked on? Kind of the bare bones of what it might look like?
Yeah. No, I need help trying to figure out how to take step 1 and step 2 and mash them together into the love child of step 3.
Yeah.
I didn't even think I did that. I got you stuck in my head and then that was it, game over, done. Everything, that's all I needed. I
Right.
didn't even have to write everything else down. I just got with that. Had a coffee.
There you go. Does anyone have like even the shell, the bare bones, anybody down like their mission statement? Because that's gonna go with that as well.
I don't have any of it done.
Jody's cracking
I got
up
you.
here. Jody's gonna use I got you for everything.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
my mission. I got you.
All right, I'm holding you to that.
Yeah, so your value proposition is gonna be something that you're gonna work on, so if. Yeah, if you don't have it today, it's okay, but you have kind of the building blocks for it, and to be able to. Write it down, stick it somewhere where you're gonna see it all the time, like in your office, and then. Just go over it and figure out what is it that's important to you that you want to communicate to your clients,
You know, how everyone asks you, what's your why? Why?
right?
Shouldn't your value proposition kind of feed into that? Like, what's your why? And then what's the answer to the why? Like, does that sound personal?
So, yeah, your why can be very personal or it can be professional, yeah,
Yeah, this might be-
or it can do both.
Mm.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So I know so Jody, I don't know if everybody heard, but Jody's question was, does your why feed into your value proposition or the other way around? But it's kind of what your why is.
What your why is.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what my why is.
There's like a whole. You know, like 4 whys.
Yeah, I do. I think you have a different why for, can have it for different things. Like you can have your why for your personal life and your why for your professional life. You know, why do you do this? Or what is it feeding in my personal life?
I don't remember the last time I thought this much about this.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? But
Sure.
yeah, it is. You got this, Jody. You got this.
Sure.
So I guess my suggestion would be, for you to put it on sticky notes, put it around in your office, so that you're constantly going back to it, you're revisiting it, so you figure out what is your value proposition. You already know what it is, because you're having these conversations with clients, you're having these conversations with family and friends. So you just need to pare it down to something that you can express easily. Right, so talk to a close friend about it that knows who you are and knows a lot about you. If you have a significant other, talk to them about it. You can talk to your work colleagues. You can, and then watch the conversations that you're having when you're with clients or even with customers before they're clients. Just watch those conversations, because those are going to be the keywords. They're going to keep coming up, and that's what your value proposition is. Right, so don't search too hard, you're already doing it.
No, I'm trying to think of one for you.
For me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I listened
a
to you
tag-
first.
a tagline, yeah.
Yeah, come up with my tagline. Dude.
Other box.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think Sherry.
That is not the tagline. What? No.
Oh, yeah.
I
it's-
struck.
So this was part of the reason why I was saying, we'll just do this together, because then you were to divide up and do role play with presenting your value proposition to somebody else. I think that's what I mean by talk to somebody that knows you really well, talk to your significant other, talk to a work colleague, talk to a really close friend who knows you well, because they're going to be able to say, that's exactly you, or really that's what's important to you to provide. Like they will be the people in your life that will be honest with you. And they'll be able to say, yeah, that's perfect. All right. I think that's it for this session. And then you're supposed to do 2 hours of work over the next. Yeah, like with calls and follow up and some of it like with lead gen. So if we were talking about the 3-hour time commitment, that can be, if you've not done it and you've not done a 3-hour time commitment for lead gen, that's virtually impossible to do, and you're setting yourself up for a failure the first time you do it. So don't do 3 hours. In all seriousness, start out with half hour.
Don't even put a timeline.
Start
on
with
it.
15 minutes if you
Don't
need
even
to.
put a timeline on it, put a contact number on it. Put 10 a day, like,
Right.
this says 10 a day, but like 10 or 12 a day. So,
Right.
I mean, bold's 20, but like.
Yeah.
Start with a number of people. I found that like through my coach. Is like, we figured out the amount of contacts per day versus the amount of time per day, because the
Yeah.
time was messing with my head. So I wasn't actually sitting doing it, I felt like I was failing about it, but he said, if you can nail down 12 people every day.
Yeah.
Then consider your lead gen satisfied.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Which is amazing,
You
because
may
if
be
you
able
go out and you have
Well, you
a
might be able to do
conversation
it,
with
you
somebody
might
at
be
a
able to
coffee
do
shop.
30 minutes if you went to
Yes.
like your old place of work or.
Yeah.
Family party.
Yeah.
Or it might take you an hour as you do 10-minute phone calls with 12 people.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
obviously that math doesn't work, but like.
But people are so excited to hear from somebody, because they get so many emails. They get so much junk and stuff, that if you send a card, because that's also a contact, you're also reaching out. So if you send a card, or you have a conversation, depending on how your people like to be contacted, whether it's through social media or texting or a phone call. Like somebody saying to me one day, don't ever call me unless it's an emergency. That's the only time I talk on the phone.
Whenever I call a sister.
Is when it's an
she
emergency.
assumes somebody cut.
Right, so find out like who, because that's not the way you want the conversation to start. Right, like so over the next few days, or maybe it's until Wednesday, you're supposed to do 2 hours in total. So whatever that looks like for you, you know, you do half an hour, 45 minutes a day, and you do another hour and 15 minutes tomorrow. However it works, but yeah. Hopefully this has been of some value, guys, to get you thinking about all that you do actually offer. Because I know everybody on this call has incredible gifts, incredible skills, amazing things to offer to clients and customers. You just need to give yourself the value that you deserve, and you need to put it on paper and have it in front of you. So you know that that's your value, and you know that I am worth working for you, and you should pick me. You're not gonna say it that way, but you're gonna use your value proposition to communicate that message. Anybody has any questions or anything, please reach out. Anybody that does these sessions are more than happy, and I know Alex would be more than happy to chat with anyone. Let's throw his name out there too. I know Holly would be, and Mike would be, and so anybody that's, you know, been in the industry pre-COVID, because we're switching back into some of the things we had to do pre-COVID. If you have any questions, please reach out. Everybody's here to help. All right, thank you guys for taking the time. Sorry, it went a little bit longer than what I expected it to, but we're finished a few minutes early.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope everyone has an amazing day. And yeah, and good luck with all of this. Let me know how it goes. Let me know. Send me your value propositions when you get them all figured out.
I love your optimism.
She didn't put a timestamp on that. Timestamp.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
No, I really would love to hear them, because I think there's some amazing people with amazing value on this call. So don't sell yourself short. All right, guys, have a good one.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome. Bye.